Greetings. Welcome all to Dorsey's Resource. The topic of this video, this is an update about rebranding both my channels to now include storytelling based on my life experiences. The topic of this video is going to be about, this is an update about rebranding the topic of my channel to now include, for both my YouTube channels, to now include storytelling based on my life experiences, which I've kind of already done in the past, but I just frankly wanted to give a formal, like a warning, a update to all my subscribers, all my loyal subscribers, people that's followed me throughout the years. Appreciate you, those that continue to rock with me. Thank you. So I just want to let it be known, because I just thought, based upon the things this channel has endured, this channel specifically was a channel that has been shadow banned. And the reason I bring that up every now and then to explain, I've noticed as of like a year or two ago, I was still getting new subscribers over to this channel. When I told many of you guys, if you haven't done so already, if you do like the content that I put out, hey, that's fine. You're not forced to watch my videos, but I do appreciate you if you do rock with me, or you like content that I put out in the past, and you're interested. Maybe some of those things I may talk about, I've already discussed a little bit on my newer channel at Dorsey's Resource 873. You can head over there. Similar, slightly different spelling, but at Dorsey's Resource 873. If you go on the YouTube search engine, type in, it should pull up. That's the newer channel. Because what happened over here throughout the years, in case you guys don't know, give you a little background about myself. I started doing YouTube videos just over 10 years ago in 2014. It was people that started way before me, even back then. So I'm what's now considered a legacy content creator. By the way, I did get to a certain plateau at a certain time, in my subculture of the discipline that I study, and aka sovereignty status correction, when I was invited over to many private groups and Discord when the TDA movement broke out in summer of 2017, approximately. For those of you guys that remember that movement, those that follow, with the great Harvey Dent, Michael Bryan, Triple Moore, Extra Light. I used to do calls with her for a while. It's part of that movement. By the way, Marcus Garvey down in Georgia, cool guy. DeCarla Fuller down in Houston, Texas, and Supreme Mill, I think he's based out of St. Louis. Big shout out to Supreme. And just kind of giving a background. So I was considered, they say struggle streaming, but I actually had a nice size following at one time. And when I started this channel off, I really didn't pitch for subscribers. I just put something together to kind of warn people about what I felt was on my heart, what the Lord laid upon my heart, what I wanted to share. Little did I know that this journey would take me on, and in particular, when I got into politics, I brought it up. And every now and then, you guys know, I would do years ago, I would talk about it, but I kind of tried to stray away from politics and religion, sort of, as well. Even though I had some things I was going to present down the road to deconstruct some destructive theology and go into actual, real in-depth, credible stuff, not, stuff that is just a lot of misinformation, disinfo that's put out there. I have some very credible people in my circle, my close circle, by the way, in particular, but that's neither here nor there. But I just wanted to give like an update to let you guys know I'll be rebranding or doing my content. A lot of my videos, I don't talk about the dinar anymore, or the wealth transfer, or the reset. Frankly, I'm bored. I do know what's going on. I have people behind the scenes I keep up with, but there was a lot done, in case you guys don't know the backstory, to also sabotage me personally and this channel. And it's just a lot, for me back then to overcome up to now. When I thought about, I was attacked from three different angles. By the way, there was a guy, a coworker, I told you guys a story about a while ago, but it's, no need. I'm not crying over spilled milk or anything like that. I'm just sharing this particular story that I had a coworker that snitched on me. Basically, that's what they told me when I had to meet with the operations manager at the time and the person who was next in charge. That once they found out I was doing YouTube videos in my work uniform at the time, that was some years ago, security uniform, and I had to remove the majority of those videos at the time, or else they were basically threatening to terminate me, I believe, based on, even though there wasn't any type of laws, they kind of did discuss they didn't want it to be a conflict of interest. She stated at the time she liked the fact that I gave a disclaimer in some of the videos, but not actually all of the videos at the time had I given a disclaimer. But that was, one thing that happened that killed a lot of the momentum from a lot of the views that I received. I did a lot of videos back then. I still have archived on a backup hard drive. A lot older videos I did about the dinar, the Iraqi dinar, videos I did on pro Second Amendment, warning special forces, stuff like that years ago, and some other stuff, lightly on stuff hits the fan, Tia Tawaki, solutions, preparedness. YouTube also, in case you guys don't know, from this particular channel, they also not only censored me, shadow banned me, but they removed quite a bit of videos that I've done. And I just find it very hypocritical that when this story about the T app broke, which I plan to do a video about, I haven't as of yet, but many of you all that know or have heard about the T app that went viral towards the middle of July, going into the end of July, going into early August, I still see some videos here and there that this is basically was a platform that was supposed to be like, it started off, appears as though it's supposed to be a safe space to protect women when they are in the dating market, or to warn them of men potentially spreading STDs or sexually transmitted diseases, domestic violence abusers, men who could be on the sex registry list. From what I understand, it was the #1 app in the Apple Store. By the way, I believe it was on Google Play as well, and only women could actually access the app. Men were not allowed, even though I did hear some men actually snuck on there somehow. Or I heard a story, one guy hacked into it. Plus, women are telling on other women, and a lot of guys that had girlfriends and stuff told them they were on there. So I found out one guy found out he was on there and ordered a copyright strike to have his pictures, image, and likeness taken down. He contacted Apple, did a DMC, some type of DMC request. I was shocked. I saw a video about. So I just find it odd that this lawyer, because our local news station here in Detroit, Fox 2, did a story about this T app that went viral. By the way, this is actually a form of doxing men. There is a way to, discreetly expose people, but there's a legal way to go about doing it. And I even heard from a lady that she got fired by Sean Cook, the guy that started the app, when she says right before she was terminated, she came to him about red flags. And I can kind of tell she said she was under NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, so she couldn't go over everything. But what she stated was that she saw major potential red flags. And I obviously saw, by the app being women only, that's a form of gender-based discrimination. When Fox 2 News interviewed a lawyer, he said on the civil side, that's a form of defamation of character. But he also mentioned on the criminal side, it's a form of basically cyberbullying and harassment, stalking, by the way, which can carry very serious offenses separately from defamation of character. He was breaking down on the criminal side. So I said, how is it that women basically just saying my channel was censored for some minute BS stuff? Because YouTube, I'm going to be frankly honest with you guys, is controlled and ran by the evil cabal, the Kabbalists and the ruling class, the dark force, very evil, sadistic forces out there. that don't have our best interest at heart. I was personally targeted. I know this for a fact. I did have subscribers some years ago that warned me, came to me when I used to use my old email address, Dorsey's Resource at 2017, that told me my channel was being shadow banned. There's ways you can go find out those types of things. I wasn't getting the views. I even saw in real time one day I was doing a live video. I was going up to like, because the algorithm, they have a way to suppress the algorithm. And there was a engineer that came out who used to work for Google. His name was Zach Voorhees. True story. You can look up who he is. Google got so mad, upset that he came out as a whistleblower, and he sounded the alarm on what the criminality, what they were doing to target people, not just based on your political views or because the cabal wants to control the narrative and the mainstream media, the news, so they can push liberalism, which is a precursor to Marxism. As a friend of mine was telling me as I learned this, I asked him this question. I didn't know for years what liberalism was or why a lot of women were liberal. I told him when they first started off Facebook, I used to wonder, remember when Facebook first started off, it used to ask you, what are your political views? It had a section for that. And I would see a lot of the women that had profiles, it would say liberal. And I didn't know if it meant kind of the same thing as Democrat, or I didn't really know what the difference. But from watching Alex Jones and InfoWars throughout the years and just becoming more politically aware, politically astute, I haven't been a registered voter since 2004. But a friend of mine commends me that I keep up with politics behind the scenes actually more than people that are registered voters, because I actually put him up on things that he's not aware of. He's actually, registered as a conservative, probably unapologetically, I would say. And we've debated different things we agree on, but we're not so petty or biased like a lot of women are, where we'll fall out or don't want to talk to the person no more just because our political views are different. We're not judgment. We are truly judgment free. With me and my buddy, we play devil's advocate, or we have debates, and we're passionate about, what we believe in. And he says, I kind of sway him and he'll come back, but we have honest discourse. And that's what it's supposed to be in the public square of the internet. But what's going on is torturous interference, which is a form of major media organizations targeting smaller independent media or alternative media, because they would try to dismiss everything as the internet was becoming, more people were becoming more independent in terms of reporting on the news or information, and starting their actual own journalistic platforms, or just various platforms that not always necessarily touched on the news, but different things, statistics and research that may not fit the narrative or go through the filter that the mainstream media or the Associated Press has. Because my mother studied communications, and she actually got her bachelor's, her undergrad degree at Cleveland State in communications. My cousin also studied communications. I don't think he actually finished. So I know about the public relations field. Asked my mom, she told me a lot of those articles from mainstream media that you see every day, that's running through like Bing, MSN, news, that's going through the Associated Press, by the way. So they want to control, basically the narrative. And I will say things got out of hand at one time. You do have, the FBI, when they put out a report about conspiracy theories some years ago, for those of you all that remember that, they actually admitted something. They said that they're actually, I always look for the secret thing, the remedy. They try to kind of not put it out there, but I read the article, and they actually said within the article, this was FBI's own report some years ago. You can look it up if it's still out there. They said there's actually conspiracies that are actually true. By the way, they said this is in the article that they put out. Not my words, but this was put out publicly some years ago, and they did just a story headline. It was in the mainstream, running basically through the Associated Press, hit the mainstream media outlets, some type of report that the FBI had put out some years ago. I don't remember what year it was exactly, but I would say not a long time ago, but it was a while ago, to a point I actually don't remember that, even though I have a good memory. But so my channel, this channel was targeted, by the way. So I had, based on my job some years ago, I had to remove a lot of those videos So that hurt me in the algorithm. Then I also attended an event by invitation only some years ago, was private clandestine operation known as the Pastor Tony King seminars, or AKA Kingship Manna Coalition. And I received basically heat from that. The way that went down, some of you all already know. So I just wanted to give you guys the story, the background on that, and kind of the reason why I'm kind of going to rebrand. Maybe more of the topics that I talk about are going to include story time based upon my real life experiences, and just kind of go from there. And maybe down the road, I may touch on other things. There is information that I do receive from people, I would say, behind the curtain about the wealth transfer, the dinar community, stuff like that. But like I said, I've personally put that on the back burner because it just became redundant to talk about throughout the years. As the cabal, the evil ones, whoever behind the curtain, I would personally like to know who's stalling it, because I've always heard there was like 3 men controlling it, or the U.S. Treasury actually met a private banker some years ago. This is a true story. I had a conversation with her on Skype. She still follows the channel. From what I believe, she still subscribed to me. I looked up her credentials, and we actually spoke for quite a while when we broke the ice some years ago. We had a conversation through Skype. I confirmed her credentials. I let her know. I told her she's phenomenal with her credentials, that she has things she's able to do. And she's also confided in me behind the scenes. I would say it appears as though she was working behind the scenes related to that, basically. And a little bit I can tell you, those who are interested, because I did see the comment from a guy that said, how did I start talking about dating relationships when I went from the dinar stuff? But I really didn't discuss a lot of those topics dealing with the dinar anymore. I kind of got away from that. And you guys know I discuss different topics, in particular, different topics of discussion. So one of the things that I received is basically they're revamping the whole banking system. They're getting rid of the old legacy system, and they're going to be moving over to this new digital system. They're going to start referring to cryptos as digital assets. They already do some call it form of virtual currency, digital currency. So the legacy system is what I was told by one of my private sources behind the scenes is being phased out. And this new system is slowly being brought in, and the banks are actually basically being, how can I put it? Banks are already, many of them are already compliant, but they're being reformed, by the way, to basically be acclimated with the new standard, the new compliancy, Basel IV, not only Basel III asset back, but Basel IV compliance. So I hear the top tier banks are, but it was still smaller banks. It seems like they would still have an excuse for holding up the dinar, the actual revaluation. Because I was informed years ago, it almost happened numerous times, that it's a lot of BS out there, why they come up with different excuses or reasons why it's been stalled, which I've said is done on purpose once I discovered, for various reasons, because we know some years ago there was a VIP person. I didn't actually get the official name, but someone high up, I guess, very important person. So VIP is a short acronym for they exchanged in the middle of the night, where they temporarily raised the rate where this person was able to exchange. And then it went back to its rate that's like pennies on a dollar or below a dollar. But temporarily in the middle of the night, the rate was actually raised so they could exchange this bigwig or VIP, whoever they were. Not only heard the story from TNT, but I can confirm one of my private sources actually knew a pastor who actually got a chance to meet some years ago. I don't remember his name offhand. I did get a chance to meet him before, but it was through somebody else, that he saw one particular night when this rate went up. And I believe that was the same night that they exchanged this very important person, whoever they were, because I always knew years ago there was a tier system, but those that knew about the dinar, that followed it many years ago, they mentioned how it would roll out. Then they even created this tier 4B. It was a tier 4A. Then they created it. I thought once we got to tier 4, everybody else would get to exchange. So that let me know, oh, they're really exclusively trying to make sure a great portion of the middle class stays poor, stays in the condition that they're in. Because I knew there was a tier 1, tier 2 was like governments of the world. Tier 3 was like, for example, diplomats, very important people. Then once you got to tier 4, was supposed to be everybody else. Then they separated it and came up with like a tier 4B, the internet group, AK. So I don't know. I can't say what it is now because so much stuff has changed. I was even informed that alphabet agencies listened to many of the dinar calls years ago. They were on there. So they were like, oh, you guys are going to do this, then we'll change this. We'll make it harder. A buddy of mine said when that Robinhood short squeeze happened some years ago with the GameStop stock that went up all of a sudden, then they forced some people's accounts as it was going up to sell before they were able to make a massive profit. Some were able to, but a lot of people reported, and they even boycotted Robinhood after that. A friend of mine told me privately that let him know that they basically was confirmation to him that they didn't want poor people or middle class people becoming rich or wealthy. I do believe there was a video I was actually working on a while ago where I got some new information connected to the reset. And I would add to that where I personally believe now there is a conspiracy where they don't want to see a black man or man of African-American descent become a billionaire on the level of Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, Eric Smith. They don't want to see a black man become very wealthy. I do believe personally, very strongly, there is a conspiracy behind that because so much he would be capable of doing. And TNT even used to say on his calls years ago, he said, if a lot of people, you guys became wealthy or very rich overnight, he said, I knew I was able to interpret what he was saying, but he said it gets into politics, governments controlling cities, stuff like that, because you would have so much power. So I was personally frustrated. And the reason I took things personal, to let you guys know behind the scenes, I was personally targeted. I can't begin to kind of tell you. That's why I had to do videos descriptively. And I know some of the videos I did, it made me seem weak, but I had to be honest and tell you guys what was upon my heart, what really happened to me when I attended the Pastor Tony King seminars, that private clandestine operation, also known as Kingship Matter Coalition. I was part of the original 2009 group, along with members included Gary Colombo, Steve Thomas, James Casavos. There was actually elite people in attendance. My friend calls them the shadow people behind the curtain. I'm not just making this up. People think this is so surreal that they actually know me and they think I'm just bullshit. No, this is something I actually went through, experienced, and it hurt me tremendously. But it told me how evil, how methodical and how controlled and how evil and cruel this banking system is. Even if one friend tried to make an excuse and call them the good cabal, and I said, cabal is still a cabal. It's just like people argue over Democrats and Republicans. I can see there are two heads of the same snake. They're all evil, or they don't have, majority of them don't have the people's best interests at heart. Until we get politicians or people on both sides of the aisle who genuinely care about people, can put their differences to the side, but put we the people, Americans, people first, we're going to have problems. And not just from an aspect, certain people, but everybody to be inclusive. And I just don't see that happening even amongst so-called Kabbalists, rich people that call themselves philanthropists. Really, I think it's a disguise I discovered for them to basically launder money amongst themselves by having these so-called nonprofit organizations, by the way. Just think, it's a money scheme effort, by the way. So just kind of giving my way in. But once again, I just want to come before you guys and let you guys know I'm going to talk about maybe more of my, I call it story time. It's similar, in case you've seen the videos on YouTube about people that spent time like in prison. A lot of inmates, what they do after they come out, people, they know they can monetize. People are making real good money on YouTube, by the way. It's another reason why they came for me. I had haters out there, you know, there's snakes. There's a whole story behind why the YouTube market became saturated, and they sabotage legacy creators, original influencers, content creators, such as myself and many others, to basically sabotage us to allow their own people, minions, to build their wealth and build their money up so they could buy very good studio equipment and stuff and suppress algorithms. Because a friend of mine told me about a guy that had a very large channel and a very large following. He was into a particular discipline. I don't remember what it was specifically, and said YouTube told him or let him know they didn't want to promote his content anymore, just out of the blue. They were like, they didn't want to basically share it in the news feed, or which, because the algorithms can actually, the way it's set up, they did some things. And that's why I brought up the former Google engineer, Zach Vorhies. Look up who he is. You might have to go to Rumble or Brighteon.com. Brighteon is Mike Adams, the Health Rangers site. Because independent media is where it's at, or BitChute, if you can access BitChute. Look up the guy, Zach Vorhies was his name. And he was swatted by Google. Actually, they sent the SWAT team to intimidate him because they didn't like the fact that he came out as a whistleblower and exposed what Google, aka their parent company, Alphabet. They changed the name, they rebranded themselves. And by the way, while the media had a lot of people distracted when the King's Day, that weekend at the King's Day protests were going on in California, you had the migrant protests happening. Simultaneously, that weekend in June of the 16th through the 17th, the Bilderberg meeting was taking place in Stockholm, Sweden. And guess who was there? Dan Hicks, big shout out to a journalist from Canada, independent journalist, who covered the event, as well as some other people there. And they got footage of the former CEO, Eric Schmidt of Google, now Alphabet, their parent company, going in, and also Peter Thiel. I don't know too much about Peter Thiel. By the way, I was informed something recently, but like I said, I won't speak on that. But they basically, the Bilderberg meeting, if you know about that, the secretive meeting, the Davos meeting is like the daylight version of the Bilderberg. A friend of mine broke that down to me some years ago. The Davos group is like the World Economic Forum is basically the other name. But the Bilderberg was the more secretive meeting. They never wanted exposed to the press some years ago. You can actually go online. They have a website. It should be still up. And it listed what their topics for their agenda for this year was. And openly, I heard many years ago, they would deny that population reduction or population control was on their agenda. They would just blatantly deny it. They would lie because they controlled the press. They would make sure the mainstream media, the press, would not cover their secret meetings till Jim Tucker and others, rest in peace to the journalists, along with Alex Jones and Daniel Esterlin over in Europe, thanks to the hard work they did with exposing, bringing about what the elites had planned, the evil Kabbalists that don't have our best interest at heart. They actually have a website that listed, and on their website this year, population reduction was one of their agendas, their topics of discussion. So just let that be something to think about. We don't make this stuff up, folks. I don't make this stuff up. When I come before you guys and I present content to you, I want to say my content is highly, highly accurate. You can have conspiracy theory. You also have a such thing as conspiracy facts or conspiracy realists, stuff that's real. Anybody can conspire, But theory is something that's theoretical, that hasn't been proven. So when you break down the definition of these words, don't let the semantics or the word game play. That's how you can tell who their agents or minions are. When people try to deflect and play semantics, you know, I talk about facts over here, stuff to research. But I always encourage you guys, I mention it to you verbally, but in the near future, when I get better software and things of that sort, maybe graphics artists, I can hire people, I'll be able to, you know, you have like the better special effects that bigger content creators and influencers on YouTube have, so I can present the information to you guys in a more professional, concise manner. But if you verbally listen, if you follow my content throughout the years, I've had people confirm to me, they learned from me when I would do videos about the top 10 documentaries or independent documentaries you should watch or check out. It's people that saw those videos, and one guy in particular, I won't put his name out there, but he comes over here from time to time. He admitted to me behind the scenes that helped wake him up. You know, the different videos from some years ago. It's not a coincidence I did those videos when I talked about these documentaries you can watch for free on YouTube, such as Monopoly Men, Money Masters, Ring of Power, Empire of the City. Now, Money Masters is a very long documentary. I will admit to you, a friend of mine sat me down some years ago and was like, you need to check this out. And I mean, I was literally like falling asleep, but I'm so glad he did, because it was so informative. I was able to connect the dots with the modern day central banking system, the Federal Reserve Bank, where they send like the Brinks people out from to pick up the money or so-called currency. It's really not money, it's fiat, and drop it off at businesses. And I learned the history, who started, how about the Rothschild family, how Amschel Bauer sent his 5 sons around the world. Monopoly Man also complements that documentary separately. Monopoly Man, it's a lot shorter, but it kind of gives you like an overview of Money Masters. And then Ring of Power, Empire of the City, just type in YouTube search engine. You should still be able to pull it up for free. Ring of Power, Empire of the City. It may be called or retitled under a different name. And there's other documentaries I will say watch. Alex Jones's documentary called Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, not to be confused with the movie that Cuba Gooding Jr. played in called Endgame. But Alex Jones' movie, it's a documentary, has like a green logo. It's called Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. You need to check out that. It's been watched by many famous people, allegedly. Bruce Willis, former Vice President Mike Pence, other people. Word has got back to Alex. He mentioned people have saw it. It's gone viral. They tried to suppress it, but you know, there's so many different channels that will upload this content throughout the years, or they tried to delete it. But I'm pretty sure you should still be able to find it. But it's called Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. And to sum up, that's how I found out about journalists from overseas in Europe, somewhere maybe Spain or Europe. Daniel Esselin, who does good work. He was in that documentary from some years ago. Also, Jim Tucker, rest in peace too, who did a lot of work covering the Bilderberg when nobody was covering it, and years ago, and brought it to light to eventually gain momentum, where the mainstream media, they were forced to start covering about it, but they still keep it very secretive to this day. And they lie and they gaslight. Trust me, they lie and they gaslight. But those people, I also found out, the European elites are like some of the private board members behind the Federal Reserve Bank. The private board members, by the way. So don't let the smooth taste fool you. These people are very methodical. They are out there. This information that is real. I just wanted to give you an overview that this channel was censored. So in case you guys haven't, go over and subscribe to my newer channel at Dorsey's Resource 873. Just be on standby over there. And this is just an update that I plan on rebranding my content to do videos about storytelling. I think the next video I had planned was I was going to tell the story about this young lady that I had saved when I worked in security some years ago. I told the story before, but I was going to go kind of more in depth. I was considering showing my face so you guys won't just see the avatar photo of me. And I was going to just tell my experience about the situation. One of the most traumatic nights ever that I worked in security. And I saved this young lady. And the reason I told her at the time that I saved her life because she was the story I got from a guy that lived in the apartment building, a young guy, was that she was having an affair. She was messing with a guy who was married. He used to work for Chrysler in Detroit. I don't know if he still does. I don't know the guy's name, but it's such a small world. 1 year later, I ran into the same guy. He knew my landlord because my landlord at that time, back in '06, worked for Chrysler. But this happened a year prior. This happened in 2005. I was 26 years old at the time. I'm 46 now. And it's a true story. Her name was Tanya. I stayed in touch with her about till 2008. I had her number. She was also a beautician. I found out she did hair at a beauty salon on the west side of Detroit, somewhere near Wyoming, off of Wyoming and 6 Mile. So I don't know. I haven't kept up with her throughout the years. Like I said, I stayed in touch with her until about '08. But the word I got, she was messing with a guy. And what she did was she called his wife answered, and I guess was trying to get their marriage broken up. Because I've always heard, I guess she was the side chick. Sometimes the side woman wants to be the main one. I know Tanya got really, really loose. I would flirt a lot with her when I worked at the apartment building. I was a guard in the lobby. A lot of the guys that lived in the building, they knew who she was. There's another story behind it I was going to tell too. She used to go to the Zoo Bar a lot at the time. I don't know if it's still what it's called. If it rebranded, it was like a club downtown. As I used to joke with her a lot. But that was back in '05. I have an autobiographical memory. I can kind of still remember it like yesterday. But what happened, I told this story, part of it, I'm kind of giving you guys a sneak preview. But that's why the guy, I guess he was upset. She had called his phone, his wife had answered, and I guess she discovered he wasn't too happy about that. Whatever reason, it was pretty known. People talk out there in the streets. He was, messing around. The guy was married, and he wasn't happy. So I was on duty that night, and I was sitting in the lobby of the apartment building. And the next thing I look through the double glass window, and it was an apartment building off of, I believe, Providence Drive, right off of 9 Mile in Greenfield, which is technically Southfield, Michigan, because Greenfield Road is the dividing line between Southfield and Oak Park. I found out some years ago because Southfield police would come, and it used to be behind a Kroger that got moved further up the street that I still shop at times. That's on 11.5 mile or 10 miles, something like that, further up Greenfield. But these two apartment buildings were adjacent. It was the building that was the front building that I was actually stationed at that night. My coworker did call me because it got to a point when we had less guards. One guard had to be responsible for patrolling the back building, and I was at the front building. So I was in the lobby. They told us instead of doing rounds on each floor, they wanted us mainly in the lobby. My supervisor, his name was Coach Daryl Henry. He said basically, because a lot of stuff goes down, or when people look for you, if there's an emergency or something, they'll come to the lobby, say, where's the guard at? So sometimes if you're doing rounds on each floor, they can't find you in between that time. Like, we also dealt when the guy had his car stolen. We dealt with a lot of that went on, drug dealers, domestic cases. I seen a lot of this stuff firsthand. I worked in an apartment building. That wasn't the only apartment building that I worked at some years ago. I actually worked at another apartment building right next to Fox 2 News. Prior to me moving to Florida, leaving the company, I was sent to work at a hip hop store that used to be called Mr. Allen's. That's now called Snipes on 10 Mile in Southfield. But prior to that, I was stationed at an apartment building right off of 9 Mile, right next to Fox 2 News. At the time, that apartment building was called Charter House. And I had some interesting experiences. I have a story time. I won't spoil it, so it won't be no spoiler alerts. But let's just say I, done some amazing things, and in my career field of helping people out, by the way, and other things, and being in dangerous situations. And back then, I was unarmed. by the way. I worked completely unarmed security. That was before I got my CPL. Uh, so just putting that out there. But that's what I was gonna just let you guys know. I was gonna rebrand the channel, talk about more of my life, some of my life stories, my personal experiences, by the way. So don't be surprised if you guys hear me or I do story time, similar to when how guys have those YouTube videos where they do like the prison story time, and they're telling you about what it was like or what their experience was like in prison. You have other people that do other types of content, so I just felt, you know, hey, why not tell my story, some of the experiences that I've been through. Maybe they can help some people, maybe they can be inspirational. There's certain experiences I've had that inspire me to this day. Even when, you know, let's say if I experience a potential heartbreak, by the way, one of the things I use to will my energy or redirect the energy to positive thinking is I know where I come from, what I'm capable of. And I think back to those experiences that I had, because the past is history, the future is a mystery, but the very present is a blessing. It's a blessing to be alive. I had an experience recently. No need to really go into it again. Let's say it humbled me. It genuinely brought me closer to God. And I thought about positive things that helped me get through, you can say, the heartbreak or catching feelings for somebody, an infatuation. And I was prepared for it. There's nothing I shy away from. There's some people there nowadays. I understand you still have to protect your heart. There's even a song about it, by the way. And I'm fully healed. I'm healed up, you know, but there's things that inspire me. It's not only a couple content creators I discovered, by the way, as this experience was a blessing in disguise. Honestly, sincerely, genuinely, it caused me to do a lot of soul searching and sharpen my game and actually admit my fault. Because I'm one of the type of people that I know a lot of people have an ego out there, egos and stuff, and they won't show no vulnerability, you know, express no emotions. I'm not like that, you know. I'm still strong at the end of the day. I'm still solid. But I thought back to those experiences like that I've had when I've done positive things for people. I think back years ago when I lived out of a motel before I ended up, when I actually moved on my own for the first time. Uh, by the way, that's a whole nother experience, separate experience. I'll say for story time. But the reason I look back to that story, there was one particular night, there were two girls, and I asked my mentor I've known years ago about this, and they asked me to take them home. They was messing with two guys or whatever. And I guess the guys, I can tell back then, they didn't really, from what it looked like, I was working out outside. I was doing martial arts, training, trained privately under my sensei outside my hotel room at the way, which was like, I stayed there. Technically, it was a motel, but you know, I actually had a coworker that actually lived there before he got his house years ago. By the way, that's a whole nother story within itself. A cool guy named Furman, true story. And he was good with the women, by the way, really good, but kind of like a mentor to me. He's an older guy. He didn't look like it, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. But there was one night these two girls asked me, and I took them home. They lived in Brightmoor, by the way, because my mentor told me, hey, he said I did a favor for them. They were probably somebody's daughters, somebody's sisters, somebody's nieces. He said you could have saved them basically from potentially being raped or abused. You don't know what. So I think about the good that I've done. And, you know, throughout life, we have experiences that we learn, we grow from to make us become better persons, better people. And I strive to be better. And I strive to grow from these experiences, despite the mistakes that I make. And I was not perfect throughout the years, But when I was going through the process of healing up, I said, "You the guy, you came in first place in a martial arts tournament in 2001. What are you crying about? What are you being weak about? You got weak. You need to become strong." And I had these pep talks with myself, like, you were the guy, a lot of students looked up to you. You were one of the #1 top students in the schools and the school at the time. It was the only tournament I competed in. It was an inter-club tournament. And I was the youngest ranked belt to ever come in first place in sparring. I lost in a kata competition, but I won in a sparring competition. I was determined that day. I said, in my mind, I said, I'm taking the trophy home. And in that moment, my mom actually came to that event. My mom, my younger brother and sister, she took photos. I was working on trying to have those pictures developed. I don't know whatever happened, because we had not too long, some months after that, I was the last person to make it out the house of a house fire I was involved in. That's a whole nother separate story. Had some major experiences, by the way, that I went through. But this was prior to that. That same year, June 9th, 2001. I believe that was the date. It was on a Saturday. I came in first place, and I had just got promoted from white belt to yellow belt. And I wasn't even going to compete in the tournament, but my assistant instructor, Candace Cooper, Richard Morrissey, the head instructor, convinced me. They said it's to help raise money for the school. It's an inter-club tournament. So it costs $40 at the time. So I said, oh, why not? They can convince me. Plus, you know, I thought about, hey, this could be opportunity the way they convinced me. And Morrissey, the way he explained, he was a really down-to-earth person. You know, he tried to say, a lot of people are going to get trophies, because the way it was set up, the katas were like basically whatever rank belt that you're at. In case you don't know, if you've never taken martial arts, were like the different moves you have to show at whatever level rank you're at, that you're able to do every move in that particular style for that particular rank. So say if you're blue belt, it's going to be a certain amount of moves or styles that you're going to do that's going to be for blue belt or green belt or red belt or brown belt, all the way up to whatever level. So I competed in what was called the sparring. It's a point system similar to the movie Karate Kid. That's the only tournament that I ever competed in. It was called an inter-club tournament. So the school at the time, it was called the Academy of Martial Arts. It was in Dearborn, Michigan. By the way, see, I'm giving you guys, this is actually a whole separate video. It's part of story time. But that's why I was going to come before you guys, since I do tell a lot of stories. I've had people behind the scenes that told me they like the stories that I tell. It's based on real life experience. What I just went over, this real life event. That's something I experienced years ago. But I look back when I mentioned about the heartbreak or what I went through recently. I looked back to those experiences for inspiration. Also, when I graduated from Davenport University, I found a thank you card that was given to me, a graduation card, by my coworkers who worked with me and what was originally known as the Student Development Center for Davenport University, which was called Detroit College of Business. And at the time, this campus is no longer. They ended up moving to Livonia because the location was on Oakman Avenue and Oakman Boulevard and Michigan Avenue, by the way. Oakman Boulevard, right on the corner. They had made some changes. I used to work there years ago as a college work study from around when I transferred from DeVry Institute in Columbus, Ohio. And I started at Davenport, aka Detroit College of Business, in March of 1999. And I worked there till about approximately sometime going into the summer or spring of 2002, by the way. Before, around the time, that was after I had the house fire. I was involved in a house fire at one time. But I look back, all my coworkers that worked in the department, they signed my graduation card, and I just recently scanned it. So maybe I'll upload that for those that follow my Twitter, maybe my Instagram account handle, or maybe my Facebook. I look to those things and I look back, and those are things that give me, encouragement. And you say, if you look at These are people that work with me like practically every day, people that knew me, that worked in the same department as me. So it would show you guys the type of person I am. What other people said as an example. I also have a card from years ago that the church had signed for me. I found when I was going through my stuff a while ago. I scanned that. So I think this was a birthday card. A lot of the members of the church at the time. The church was called Jehovah Jireh under Pastor Parnell in Belleville, Michigan. I think at one time he moved. He had services out of his home. Then we were worshiping at a Presbyterian church in Belleville, Michigan at one time. And I can't remember from there. I think they were still there for a while. He assigned me as the sound technician years ago. My mother did. She sung praise and worship, by the way. So when I started working, once we moved out, we moved back into our house after it got renovated after the house fire and everything. That was a whole traumatic experience. And I had to be the man of the house. I was, as the oldest child back then, I had to take on a lot of responsibilities and becoming a man and having to man up, basically. True story. And it was amazing experiences that I had back then. I also opened a women's clothing store, Lerner, New York, which originally was called, then it was called New York, New York, a woman's clothing store at a Fairlane Mall. I don't know if I haven't been to Fairlane in like years. That's Fairlane's in Dearborn, Michigan, by the way. Even though it's pretty close, like I said, I haven't been to that mall in years, by the way. I actually stopped going there some years ago. I kind of boycotted after some particular event happened there some years ago, like similar to Northland. That's one of the reasons I stopped going there. I boycotted for my own personal reasons, by the way. But I had 2 jobs at one time, and this within the same semester I was taking 3 classes, and I made the dean's list, by the way, at AKA, because Davenport bought out Detroit College of Business. They were based out of, I believe, Grand Rapids. They took over other mom and pop schools, and I also met the first black president of Davenport University, aka it was Detroit College of Business, because colleges follow some similar things to corporations and how the government works with board of trustees, presidents of the school. I remember I met Dr. Mendola years ago when I first started going there. He was cool. He was a white dude, cool guy, very, very down to earth. I used to joke with him at times. He was the top guy, president of Detroit College of Business. That was the Dearborn campus on Oakman Boulevard off Michigan Avenue. This is before Davenport officially bought them out. I met Fleshing before. Forget his position. He shook his hand at my graduation when I graduated with my associate's degree back in 2002. But I knew John Salmon came down at the time from the Flint campus, and he was like the top person for a while. He took over as president of operations for the school for time being. He actually remembered me when I came back up there one day after I had graduated and offered me a job. He was really cool brother. I knew my friend Tyler St. Clair, pastor, by the way, had worked there as well, had knew him, but I had also knew him as well from working there previously. But after I had that's a whole nother story. After I had graduated and kind of moved on, I did take credits towards my bachelor's degree, but it's a reason why I couldn't finish at the time after I got my associates, which that's a whole nother story within itself, by the way. But those are some of the experiences I had and I plan on just telling, I gave you guys a lot of information, but just wanted to give you all an update. That's what I plan on doing, rebranding the channel. And I thank you guys that continue to follow me, that continue to rock with me. Appreciate you all. Until next time, take care. I'm out.